Welcome everyone. My name is Vida and this is Sri Lankan Cricket Podcast, a podcast where we discuss current news and developments happening in the cricket world with a special focus on Sri Lanka cricket. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host Sohan. How are you doing, Bara?
Doing good, Vida. Excited to be back to do another episode.
Yeah, we did an interview episode with Mark Machado, who is the host of Morally End podcast. We discussed what's been happening at Yorkshire Cricket Club, racism scandal, and we had lots of good feedback about that episode. It was a very informative episode and we learned a lot from that episode. I'm sure you will too. If you can go back and listen to that, you will learn what's been happening in the county cricket system over the years. Today we are switching back to T20 Cricket World Cup. It's at the semi-final stage and Sri Lanka had to leave early because we didn't make it to the semi-finals. And we'll talk about Lanka Premier League draft, which is going to happen on the 9th of November. And Sri Lanka Test cricket team going to face West Indies in a home test series. And Australia plans to travel to Pakistan after 24 long years. There's a lot more to talk about. There's a few fan questions as well. So where should we start today, Bora?
I think let's start with the exciting, the series for the Sri Lankans out in the World Cup campaign. I know we didn't get through to the final four, but nonetheless, I think a strong performance off the back of the last few years in T20 cricket. So I think that's a good way to start the program and then move the shift towards the rest of the teams that have qualified. We know we predominantly have been talking about Sri Lanka in the T20 phase of the World Cup. We'd love to discuss the remaining four teams who have made it. Let's kick off with Sri Lanka's performance. We said at the start, we were very excited coming from the group stages or coming in from qualifying on to the group stages. We started really strong against Bangladesh, but we were missing the important stages and that resulted in us losing by close margins. But heading back on that plane, the boys back would have been proud of what they did.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was listening to Eoin Morgan's comment last night, and he mentioned that the toughest game they faced in the group stage was against Sri Lanka. So that speaks volumes of how far our T20 team has come from where we were a few months back. Credit should go to all the players who put in the hard work and the coaching staff, the selectors, and importantly, the fans who stuck behind them. Looking at the performances, I know you like your stats. Do you want to rank them in order? If you are to rank our player performances, who will top your list?
Yeah, that's a good one. Talking about the players, I think ranking wise, a standout person to me is Charit Asalanka from the fact that he came in through the middle stages of the tournament where he managed to get into the 11 and the strong performances he put in. For me, he would be the standout player. Wanindu Hasaranga, again, we knew what was coming through with him with the performance he's been put in. So it was a known that he'll have a strong T20 World Cup. So for me, the standout, if it were to rank the first three players from the Sri Lankan camp, I'll go Asalanka 1, Hasaranga 2, 3 and 4 probably. I think 3 would be Pathum Nissanka. And the rest, I think the next year would had a close ranking to each other. I would have loved to see as a strong performer would have been Avishka. I think rankings wise, he dropped a bit. I mean, he was a strong contender coming into the tournament, so he couldn't keep up with the stats there. So for me, Asalanka is a standout player.
Yeah, no, you're spot on there. I mean, that's you covered the batsman there, isn't it? So I'll go down the rankings and I'll pick our two fast bowlers. You know, they went for a few runs in the last couple of games, but you know they were consistently clocking 140 plus. That's very promising for future. I mean, we talked about this throughout the group stages. It's very rare to have two bowlers bowling 140 plus, and we will be playing a T20 World Cup here in Australia next summer. If they keep fit, they will be very handy over here. And the other guy is Matish Deekshana. He didn't take many wickets, but he kept things tight. He did what he had to do in those power play overs. Unfortunately, he got injured, and don't know whether that played a part, lack of wickets in the last couple of games. But overall, for a guy who came into the side a couple of months ago and playing in a World Cup, he has done really well. We are leaving the World Cup identifying at least 7-8 players where we can build a team for the next World Cup, isn't it, Bara?
Yeah, I think going into Australia for the next World Cup challenge, we have the base set up now with a core group of players who we identified in the short format, T20 cricket, who are holding strong. There was a lovely tribute which Freddie Wilde put through on Twitter where he's saying, this is when the Sri Lankans were playing the West Indies. It's like they've seen an end of an era with the West Indies cricket. I mean, the Bravos, the Gales coming to an end. But then also he says we are seeing some vibrant talent in the likes of Asalanka, Theekshana, Rajapaksa and Chamira. So that's a very strong. I love reading that comment in the morning when I saw that. It felt good as a Sri Lankan to read. Yes, it seems like we've turned the table slightly.
It's been a while. It's been a while
yeah.
since we've seen something like that about our players.
Yeah. So, but I think the challenge for the camp is how do we keep that momentum going? What we've identified as certain aspects. I know there's a silent figure which goes unnoticed and also gets criticized slightly in the when it comes to Dasun Shanaka, because I feel we don't see the performance as much from Dasun, but as a leader, he seems to be getting the best out of the rest of the team. He might not be highlighting himself, but it also is in a good way. That means he's getting the best out of 5-6 players. Whereas you don't want a captain who's performing strongly, but he can't get the best out of the lot and get a result. So there are certain leadership styles, and I think Dasun's found a small. I think he manages to get the best out of the players. Again, Dasun bats in a number where you're not getting as highlighted because the top order or the rest of the guys are doing it. So you're not, I mean, you get found out when we are really struggling, but I think we need to stick with him for the next few years because the players are playing around him. You could see that there is a strong bond between the players. That's something I've noticed. I think something we can discuss is we've got Dasun in the camp, then you have Chamika as well. So at times you feel like, okay, we seeing the best of both of them, or they both seem to be bringing each other down, or is that there something that we don't see? Like you've heard, why isn't Chamika bowling his 4 overs, or why isn't Dasun bowling more overs? So when it comes to the batting, how come Chamika is batting so low, or those conversations that seems to be happening? What are your views with Dasun and Chamika in the same team? Does it somehow, are we getting how can we manage it better, you reckon?
First of all, Dasun has done a really good job captaining this side. I said it before, this was a job no one wanted to take, and now we are talking about winning games and winning World Cups. I mean, we were not even thinking about that a couple of months ago. So credit to him getting this group together and play as a group. And they, most importantly, they improved. I had coaches telling me growing up, you improve, then try to start from there next time you train, like rather than going back to where you were. So they've done that. And sometimes it's very hard to fit in a similar type of players into a team. This happened to West Indies a few years back. They had 3-4 fast bowling all rounders. You can't. They're world class players, but they can't fit everyone into that team. Like when Darren Sammy was the captain, he was not the best bowling or batting all round in that team. They had Pollard in there. They had Dwayne Bravo and Andrew Russell as well. So that's four guys. Trying to fit those four guys into a team, it's very hard. So I think at the moment, yes, sometimes you feel like Charmik has been underutilized, but at the moment, what he can do is get his bowling game perfect. He's been trusted with the new ball. So make sure you get that first 6 balls, 12 balls right. But with Dasun, I think he'll have to think about his batting more than bowling. I don't see him bowling 4 overs. We'll use him for a couple of overs and he'll have to play as a batsman in the team. I mean, England had the same problem for a few years now. Morgan, he's not always in the runs, but the team wins. Sometimes, if you're doing your job as a captain, that's valuable than making 30, 40 runs. I mean, that's what I feel, Bora. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly right. I think Charmika, it's good that he's creating this pressure or this discussion being taken up where he feels, can we get Charmika to either bat one number up, or when it comes to can he get him an extra over? If we exactly that same words you, as a coaching group will use on Charmika, okay, I know you're putting in your efforts there, but we need you to be a bit more clinical at the top. So if like the first 12 balls or first 6 balls that he set up, if he puts in a strong performance, he pretty much asks that extra over from Dasun, give me the third over. So it takes the pressure off Dasun, which we've seen. Dasun's more than happy to he's not a guy where I've got to bowl my overs. He's more than happy. Yep, he knows what's best for the team. And we've heard it. We've heard it a lot that Dasun doesn't bowl as much as we'd like. And that's because he feels we've got it under control. So he'll more than likely say, yep, you're on top. Here's the third over. And being a part-timer in T20 cricket, getting aside that 1 over is also a good win. If he bowls that 1 over for 5 runs, it's a good way to finish rather than say, I've bowled 1 over 5. Let's try to go for the second over and go for, 11 runs in that over. And then
12, 15
you
runs.
bowl your 2 overs for 15, 17 runs. So it kind of takes that shine away. So we talk about that part-timers bowling 5 overs in 50-over cricket. So it's almost that 2 over spell in T20 cricket. So that's a good headache for our camp to have. Dasun looks more the better batter. We've seen how strong a hitter he is in the back end. At one stage, he was one of the guys, even in the last 3 years or so, that of the first 3 balls that he faced, he can hit a boundary or is most likely to hit a boundary. That's what you need from a batter coming in from that number 6 onwards. I know we don't have a lot of numbers. We can't go by the runs they score, but if we can get the number of boundaries they're able to hit of a certain amount of balls, that's what teams look for. And like even Asalanka has that where he can kick off very soon at the top. His strike rates are very fast. That's where I feel that's the attraction for Charit Asalanka at this stage, that performance, that he's off the mark very fast and he kicks off really quickly. Those are the things I see. Again, we've seen in the news, bit uncertain about Mickey Arthur, what's happening out there. I think with his contract nearing the end, what is up for it, whether it will be extended or we might see a new coach there. So we'll hear more of that news. But overall, to wrap up Sri Lanka's performance, pretty good result. The number one thing I'm still like to say out is they've brought the public to love watching the game again, this group. I think that's a massive one that they've achieved for Sri Lanka cricket overall.
No, they've done really well. There will be more opportunities for few players to come in as well. Like we have a core group of players, but there will be opportunities for other players to come in. We'll talk a bit about Lankan Premier League later. The players who will perform in that tournament, we'll get a look in because there is a couple of spots to be taken in this T20 team, especially. Let's move on to the semi-finals, Bora. Now, England versus New Zealand, Australia versus Pakistan. When you look at the 12 teams participated in this tournament, arguably they're the best 4 teams, isn't it? So India knocked out, which was a
got
surprise
knocked out with a game to go. So,
game to go. Yeah, easy game
I think
too.
they're being played today. The 4 teams, rightly, I mean, strong teams going in. I think India unlucky to miss out. Not unlucky. I think they were outplayed in the 2 games that they had to win, because we were talking about one group having packed with, the stronger teams, with Sri Lanka fell under,
Yeah,
with the
and
Bangladesh
South
also.
Africa.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
coming into that group where every win was not every win. I mean, each team was fighting for it, so you could make up with points. Whereas India, New Zealand, Pakistan, Afghanistan was in a group where um, it's very hard to drop points against a strong team, because everyone else they're not going to be many upsets in that group. So India just couldn't make it. Yeah, coming back to South Africa might be one of the first tournaments they're out of the tournament without actually choking on a game. So
Yeah.
unlucky for them. I think they put in a really strong performance there. Australia silently came through. I don't think many gave them a chance, but they've managed to turn it around. David Warner seems to have turned the tide, getting the runs through. He's looking strong, and New Zealand and the other team to make it in.
You're right about Australia, Bora. I think they're peaking at the right time. Warner is getting runs. Mitch Marsh is getting runs, and their spinners are bowling well. I was backing England to win this tournament, and with injury worries to the England camp, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe Australia have outside chance if they can upset Pakistan in the semi-final. They know how to win World Cup. So if they make to the final, I won't be surprised because they're peaking at the right time.
Front runners are England, Pakistan, very strongly in front. I mean, Pakistan have won 5 out of 5, but the thing is, you're bound to lose a game, but you don't want that game to be around the corner now. That's where
Pakistan, they've won 16 games in UAE, 16 games in a row. So I don't want to jinx it. I want them to win,
but there's a game around the corner.
Yeah, I feel, oh no.
Yeah, they're playing perfect cricket, and this is not the Pakistan we're used to see. They're used to seeing uncertain Pakistan games being played. So they play in Australia in the semi-final. Again, strong right-hand top order for Pakistan, especially with Baba Azam and Mohammad Rizwan, the wicketkeeper, has been. I mean, when he gets going, he's good to watch.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so Mitchell Stark will come into the picture with his in-swingers, whether he'll be able to knock that stumps or blow the front leg out, and Hazelwood. So far, Pat Cummins has been under the radar. So again, it's coming to the stages where one player you need that player to step up. So whether it's Pat Cummins for Australia, and with Pakistan, they seem to be finding a match winner every time they play 5 different. So again,
when you look at the man of the match performances in the games they played, it's all been Pakistan players, but Babar Azam hasn't won a man of the match yet. So he's a batsman. So I don't know, maybe he's saving himself for the semi-finals and the finals. And what are your thoughts about England and New Zealand? I mean, New Zealand has a very experienced team, and they're very good in the field, and they have 2 good spinners. For a nation of 5 million people, they've and cricket is not even their, favorite sport, and they achieve great heights in world cricket. So just like Sri Lanka in the 2000s, they make the semi-finals and the finals of the world event every time.
Yeah. Oh, New Zealand, 100%. I was backing them at the start itself. I kind of felt like they've got that strong group of players who played together. Like with the bowling, you have, Lockie Ferguson got injured, but I think it's a blessing in disguise for New Zealand, because they got Adam Milne, Trent Boult, Tim Southee, and then Southee and Santner. So they've got this group have been playing right along. With batting, the best sound I'm hearing off the bat these days is Martin Guptill. People think, how can you know if it's a good bat, or you've seen the batters knock on bats just to see what sweet sound. For everyone listening the games, it's perfect. I was just listening in. That's music for my ears, and it's a clear difference the way he's batting. But what helped New Zealand is they have a strong group of players as well that are getting through. So they'll be very strong contenders playing against an England team, which is getting through the wars in terms of their players. We've seen Timar Mills ruled out of the tournament. Jason Roy, again, most likely won't play. I'm not sure if
I don't think he's gone
out.
Yeah.
But the thing, what it happens is Jason Roy is a key figure in this team that they're playing in. So in the last World Cup, England won it on the back of when Jason Roy came back from injury. They taped him up and somehow got him to play the last few games, because they lost the plot in between. That's when Sri Lanka beat England, as well as they dropped a few points in that middle stages. But that's the effect Jason Roy has on this team. And now him almost being ruled out of this the semi-final means Johnny Bairstow will move up the order. And so there's a lot of shuffling in between the batting orders and new players coming in. So
not ideal coming into semi-final, not ideal.
Yeah, might be the one Kane Williamson is looking for. I know he's too nice of a guy. They always seem to be, how the Kiwis are. They play cricket, they play the proper way, I think. But we just need them to just get angry a bit coming into the semi-finals and finals, just show that bit of grit, or just show that disappointment. They've always, like with Kane Williamson, he'll like shrug it off and play, but they're setting up well. For me, New Zealand are that strong, but that mature group of players who played together. So I hope they win it. I think they deserve a trophy for that group of players. Like Mahela and Sangha managed to get it in the 2014 World Cup to show off with Dilshan. This group of players also, I think their time's almost there to show a trophy for a collective effort they've been in a team, that's how I see it. Pakistan, we know off the back of what has been happening in the country with teams not touring out there, they'll want this World Cup win for the country. We know the feeling as Sri Lankans when 1996, when back in the time when you heard, player teams.
Australia and West Indies didn't
out.
travel.
When we won it, we kind of, we did it, and you could see the change. So I'm guessing Pakistan would be looking out for that as well. So either way, I think there's a deserving winner this World Cup, or which team pulls up. We know there's a cause behind it. So let's keep our fingers crossed on to the games. A good topic for us, Vida, to move in with Pakistan, our teams not traveling out there. There's the announcement Australia has put up their hand to travel out there next year, so 2022. Australia is hoping to tour to Pakistan and play cricket up there, which is massive for international cricket.
Yeah, I mean, an Australian team hasn't toured Pakistan since 1998, so that's 24 years. So they're going to play 3 test matches and 3 one-days and a T20. They'll be playing in Karachi, Rawalpindi, and Lahore. It'll be 3 venues. They're going to travel there in March, April, but things can change. But I hope not, because this is massive for Pakistan fans. They've been waiting for international teams to come to Pakistan for a long time, and after a few heartbreaks, this is really good news, and I hope they will go ahead with the tour. And it's three test matches as well, so it's not like a quick 1 day and T20 tour. So it's a proper tour.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting news, and like I said, hope things progress well so that the players and the camp within Australia are comfortable to tour out to Pakistan. That's international cricket for Australia moving forward. From a Sri Lankan point of view, with the World Cup ending now, for us, immediate cricket is the LPL drafts happening. I think the LPL drafts scheduled for the 9th of November. That's been rescheduled because the date they had before was on Diwali Day, where some of the franchise owners had needed the holiday to celebrate the festive day. So it's been rescheduled to the 9th November. So there'll be a lot of interest to see who are the marquee players that are being released for the tournament, who are the international players who will be playing, as well as a lot of mood to see who are what are the squads going to be looking like. So we'll discuss more about the LPL with her, but just a quick one in between. I've seen West Indies land in Sri Lanka. So the test team's setting up for series there.
I'm trying to find the tour itinerary. I'm sure it's 2 test matches.
Okay.
And the West Indies team is already arrived in Sri Lanka. Yeah, the both test matches scheduled to play in Golpura, which is a good hunting ground for Sri Lanka over the years.
Good hunting ground. The immediate thoughts that are coming to my head is who will be the off spinner playing for Sri Lanka. I think the left arm spinner most likely will be between Ambul Denia and Praveen Jayawickrama as well, because he was back of a strong team. Again, depends how. I'm sure Lasith might be fit now of his injuries that he's had. So it'll be exciting to see who grabbed the second, because in goal you'll either play 3 spinners or 2 spinners. Definitely 2 spinners and an all-round spinner. So if Dhananjay is playing, he'll play the all-rounder spinner. I don't see a reason why he won't be in this test 11, even though he didn't play the T20 circuit. Who the second proper specialist spinner is, we'll wait and see. A strong performance being put in by Kamil Mishara, who's got 2 scores up against the Pakistan A team. I've seen him fall short. Nervous 90s got him twice.
Yeah.
So I think he'll make it into the squad. At least if I was a select, I'll reward him to be in that squad to see that transition through. We'll see more of the squads being announced, and good couple of games to watch in international cricket, test cricket back in Sri Lanka. With the LPL, coming back to the LPL, any thoughts, any players you'd like to see with in this camp, or what are your thoughts overall?
Looking at our T20 team, I mean, as I said before, there's few spots to be taken. So I don't know whether Dick Weller, Kusal Mendis and Danushka Gunathilaka can play in this tournament. I'm not sure whether by that time they'll be out of their ban period. But for someone like Dick Weller, I think this will be a very good opportunity to come back into the team, because KJP behind the wickets is not the best option at the moment. So there is an opening there, and there is an opening for a left arm spinner in the team as well, isn't it, Bora? Especially if you are an all-rounder. So someone like Kamil Mendis with good performances he'll push for a spot in there. Other than that, fast bowling camp looks really good. Anyone else? That's all I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, off the back of, if you're talking about Test cricket, I think Charith Asalanka might put his hand up off the back of the performance he's put in. In Sri Lanka, we generally do pick strong performers in the other format to follow on to another format. We don't specialize players as such, so I think he'll might get a sneak in. But yeah, I'd like to see who that off spinner is. There might be a player there we haven't heard or is who might spring up with the LPL. Some interesting spots up for grabs. You rightly spoke about the three players who would be keen. I mean, to play, able to participate in the tournament. I'm not sure what the domestic ban is, but it might be
It was 6 months. So
18 soon.
yeah.
I'm still a firm believer we should have allowed them to play domestic cricket because, the international bans, I understand that, but we could have made use of their experience and their skills in the domestic circuits, the tournaments. So, like, I think there's the domestic one-day tournament being played. Those three should have been allowed to play those matches. That's something, like, we know they've done a mistake, but it's not the end of the road for them. After a period, they're going to come and they've understood what mistakes they've made, and having their skills helps a domestic circuit of players where we feel there is less skills out there, with players moving overseas, not much players taking part in cricket as well. So they should have been allowed, but I think the bans would come through, so they'll be allowed to play. Maybe that's why marquee players haven't been untold yet. So you never know if one of them are a marquee player for one of the franchises because they were in the past. So that's something to see. Could be the LPL this year, could be a small transition phase for some of the players. We might, because the spots are very tight. So there might be some strong domestic players who might not make it this round. So it might be a transition as well. So those are the things we might see. From an international point of view, I think Shoaib Malik's coming back, which is a very strong sign. He's a T20 legend who we want to see. Chris Gale did initially put his hand up to travel out to Sri Lanka. Faf, the man, he's coming in, which is, he's a good player to have, a good, strong leader that off the back of his knowledge will learn.
It'll be a very good tournament. This is what happens when you play tournaments back to back. This is why we have to play this every year. Continuity is the way to go. I think we should wrap this up soon. If we can move on to a couple of fan questions, we can wrap it up, isn't it, Bora?
Yeah, sounds good, Vida. Let's go for it.
Got an email from Mihin Migastenia. He's from Brisbane. I'll read it out. He goes, "Hello, boys. Love the podcast and keep up the great work. With Hasaranga's great form and potential, how long do you think it will be until he secures a Milo sponsorship? Cheers." Mihin from Brisbane. I think he's talking about, the Milo drink sponsorship where Angelo Matthews and them did in the past.
I think he'll do the Milo stint for charity and he'll sign up on a IPL team and not worry about local sponsorships. He'll do it for free. That's how much of a hot property he is at the moment. And rightly so. It's just more jokingly we say Milo's. Mihin's said it right, Milo sponsor. You will see Hasaranga's face around a lot of billboards in Sri Lanka, that's for sure. So
for years to come.
Yeah, he's it's back on what he's been performing. We knew, Sri Lanka was playing against South Africa, was the number 2 bowler, and we knew the number 1 bowler was around the corner, and he just got it through in the World Cup with the hat-trick, wickets that he's taken. performance. We've just got to give him more avenues to perform. He is on top of his form. Confidence is high. Let's support him. Give him that. Let him make the change. So that's good to
Yeah.
see.
We got another one from Sunet from Goal.
Yeah.
This was sent to us through Twitter. Have you seen that photo? Tilana Kandambi, the SSC coach, has put out 3 boys turning up to play for SSC. So he's talking about that. He goes, thoughts on 3 SSC boys turning up to play after returning to Sri Lanka at 1:30 a.m. So I'll give you the backstory. So Sri Lankan cricket team, they returned to Sri Lanka at 1:30 a.m. And these 3 boys, Avishka, Dasun, and who's the other guy?
Charit.
Charit Asalanka. They turned up to Pisara Stadium to play for SSC at 8:30 in the morning. So Kandambi, the coach of SSC, has put it out. That's pretty good commitment from the boys, isn't it, Bora?
This is more jokingly, Kanda might be relieved to have those boys in the SSC camp off the back of the results they're having.
Yeah.
Good to see that commitment, them coming off straight off the plane. Brought back memories of Dilshan when Dilshan was captain in. So I was playing for MAS. This is of the mercantile tournaments in Sri Lanka. MAS versus. So MAS Unicella is the company we used to work for, and I play with. I played a couple of mercantile games against us as well.
Yeah.
And
that was
then
like the Sri Lanka team.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a strong team. I was the only guy who didn't make it. We had MAS versus MAS Active. So same
big
group
match.
of companies, a big match. So I'm pretty sure it was a one-day tournament in the UAE. On the plane, it was, I think, 4 or 5 MAS players for Unicella and another 3 or 2 players for MAS Active. All hopped on the plane, came up to play the mercantile game. That's the commitment they had. They said, we're coming for this game. They want to play. So that's what I felt. And over the time we've had, like in the past, Dilshan, I know I'm falling back into mercantile cricket because he was in the team that I was playing in as well. And then I had firsthand experience of what I saw. This was, I think, 2010, 11, around that time, where Dilshan played with a broken finger. So he played a mercantile game. I think it's off a mercantile game or off a international game where he had a broken finger, and then he played. The physios, everyone was saying, he can't play, but he said, this is what I need to do. This is my game. This is what I need to perform, and I need to go out and play for my company. This is what I get paid to do. So again, amidst everyone saying no, he strapped on, put his gloves on, went and batted. I think he scored 100 that game, but that's a separate story. But there are numerous occasions where players have come in. I don't think Sri Lankan players I don't think any Sri Lankan cricketer would try to keep away as much. I mean, everyone likes to play a game of cricket.
I might disagree with you there. Because no, you're right. Like, over the past, that has been happening, but for a few years, especially after IPL, we didn't see some players turning up to play for their respective clubs. So, but I played a lot of cricket at SSC and NCC. All the national cricketers who played for those clubs, I heard stories of Arjuna Anatunga doing the same, coming straight from the airport to play the game. So, this is what we like to see. More national cricketers playing domestic tournaments. The standard of the tournament goes up. So that's what we need.
Yeah, exactly right. And Dasun, again, another, I think, could be led by Dasun. I mean, he sets a strong example. If he says, yep, I'm going for the game, everyone else can't say anything. And I think it trickled down to almost all the other teams getting most of the players come in. A quick one with Dasun, again, something I really admired was, Sri Lanka cricket was at its lowest. When Dasun was appointed captain, going into the Indian series, we had no chance, right? And then to see Dasun go have a chat with Rahul Dravid, who was the captain, take out everything, you're the Sri Lankan captain, I shouldn't be going and speaking to other teams. So, because
Mm.
that's some of what some think, okay, why do we have to, I know we are struggling, but probably don't show it in the media. He was like, look, no hiding the facts. We are down and dumb. We need all the
Yeah.
help we can. I'm going to go and ask this guy, how can you help us get better? And so that's where I saw the title, where I was thinking, this is a guy who's finding, I know he's trying to reach out for all the experts out there in the field, but if someone can, opposition also can give me some bit of advice how to turn it around for this team, I'm willing to take it. And he did that. I think that was very good to see. And we are seeing the results now with the crew having that learning culture within them. Yeah.
We do one more?
Yeah, one more.
Yeah,
Go
one
for
more.
it.
This one's from Ananda from Dehiwala. He's asking, should we keep Mickey Arthur for another couple of years or should we get a local coach?
Time's up, Mickey.
Oh, you're sending away. Come on. We did the hard part, now you're sending away.
Yeah. I think it's a good topic with that. You and I are sitting on both sides of the fence.
Yeah.
I'll probably say thank you, Mickey. You've done a good job with the team. Let us take over and let us move forward. Is how I see it. I don't know. I don't know. That's my honest opinion, Vida. I think you're on the other side, which
No. Way I see it, like, he's done the hard part. Last 6 months he's done the hard part. So, and if we get a new coach, it might take a few months for him to get used to the team and the system. That's my only worry. So Mickey has done a really good job, but when you look at the coaches going around in the international circuit, well, look at Tom Moody. He came with Trevor Penny as the fielding and assistant coach. They come as a group. So if we are going to a new coach, I think we should bring in a group like that. So they understand each other rather than bringing in a coach and get him to get to know the supporting staff we have at the moment. It might take a couple of months for him to get used to that system. That's my only worry.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point, how you're saying, because he's got to build time with his support staff to trickle that down to the players. Again, the local coaches we've had in the second string, they've been around for a while, so they are used to a certain method. So they probably need a bit of time to turn it around as well. With Mickey has so far, or with his team that he's led, is the changes as he's been making. Are we seeing the results we want to a certain extent? Yes. Is that something you want to go bank on and give another term, thinking, yes, we've turned the corner, or will it backfire? Do we run another 3 years to see whether at the end of 3 years we are going to see results, or will it be at the start? So that's that unknown, which probably the people who need to make the decisions are thinking at this stage. That's why there's that uncertainty that Mickey hasn't heard, we haven't signed. So there's a lot of toss-ups between the positives and the negatives between. In hindsight, for Sri Lanka cricket, it could be, at least in the shorter format, we should have that change going. But
I agree with you with that.
I'm not sure whether Mickey, the contracts we sign with the coaches, whether he'll be comfortable to be a one format coach, or what's the setup. But I think he's already slowly committed on a county deal as well. I think that's something that's in the news as well. So he's probably, which is fair enough, he'd want to know where if his contract ends after a certain period, he'll need to know what is out there, right? If it's his profession, it's similar to any one of us. If we say our contract in the work we are working, your contract ends in December, you probably start looking what's out there for work after December, and see, to be able to, if you can secure some work out there, you'll do it. So I understand that with his having a bit of a feeler in the county circuit. from the Sri Lankan's management or local coach? Coming back to the question, the local coach, the question is, the
Who?
local coach is, who and what, in what capacity? The local coach, is it more of a director of cricket or a manager at the top, whereas you have your specialist coaches like the Mickey Arthurs in a role, or the specialist batting, bowling, your strength and conditioning, and as well as your fielding coach? That's that tier. So do you want someone you as your head coach and then one more person on top of it, or the person who we are going to appoint, is he capable of getting the best out of those support staff players? That's, I think, what they're talking. Names, I don't know. It's Roshan Mahanama's name that is being tossed up at the moment.
Navid Nawaz?
Yeah, that's another. Oh, his
Another
name
is something we can
it's
talk about.
Another topic to discuss, with a long topic where we can discuss about the positives and the negatives of a coaching stint. But if we are reviewing Mickey Arthur, I think let's review the tenure he's been working with Sri Lankan cricket, and then decide what the next 2 years or 3 years we want Sri Lanka cricket to be with, if Mickey Arthur is involved in it.
No, we'll wait and see. We'll hear more in next few days. I think that's a good place to wrap up. Please keep sending these questions and comments. I mean, look what you have done. Bora and I, we are arguing about things, and that's what we do. We love talking cricket. Please send them in. We love to hear from you, and send them to Sri Lankan Cricket Podcast @gmail.com. We'll add all these links in our show notes as well.
I think we covered a lot in the show. Exciting to watch the last few games being played out in the World Cup. We'll hope to have another episode covering a bit of that and more of Sri Lanka's developments, with what will happen out there with the cricket being played out. As we always say, listening to our podcast, give us those much needed likes or ratings that we would help other listeners to listen in and help us get up the ranks a bit more.
We'll have another chat after the semi-finals and before the big final. Or before that, who you backing to win the semi-finals?
New Zealand, Pakistan.
Okay. I'm going to go New Zealand, Australia. Sorry, Pakistan.
You cut the ties with it. I'm not mad.
That's half of our audience. I think we lost half of our audience.
I think so. I was just looking at, I was going through the early episodes, and when we did the predictions, I think I'm pretty happy. We've got, I think Sri Lanka was a very emotional one that we said will come through the last four. But England, Pakistan and New Zealand made it. So 3 out of 4, the 4 teams I've announced came through. So
not bad.
Not bad. Now let's see, can New Zealand, Pakistan make it to the finals? Ooh.
Oh, New Zealand, Australia.
Oh yeah, spot on. That's gonna be a massive win if Australia pulls it off.
Oh, they've done it before in the big
They're setting up, exactly right.
All right, let's wrap it up. We'll see you guys next time.
Cheers, guys.
See you soon.